My Lords, the Government is presenting this latest round of election cancellations as an unexceptional administrative move that is justified by precedents. But I think that is fundamentally wrong. Cancelling elections should be a matter of last resort, triggered by global war or a domestic catastrophe. And we should take pride in our commitment to democracy. We should have a pride that crosses party boundaries and infuses ministers about the value and the preciousness of democracy. But instead, unfortunately, the government seems to be treating elections as an administrative inconvenience, something to be brushed aside rather than something to be cherished. Now, I could get all fire and brimstone and dust off grand quotes from Churchill or Gandhi or Lincoln or Fawcett, but really I'm just disappointed at how lightly the government seems to be treating this matter. Exhibit A, of course, in that are the comments of the Secretary of State, who said that fixing potholes was more important than running scheduled elections. No regrets, no apologies, no reluctance about cancelling, but instead that poverty of low expectations, as if fixing potholes and running polling days is just too much, just not possible. Now, the government claims that all it's doing is, there is precedence for this, but I've listened and read very carefully what has been said, and all of the peacetime examples that have been quoted only extended the time in office of councillors by up to an extra year. But rather than 1 extra year or 2 extra years, the government's plans will mean that for many councillors elected for a 4-year term of office, they will end up being in power for a full 7 years, 3 years on top, in a completely unprecedented way. And this is, of course, not what the government said it was going to do. The Noble Baroness, the Minister, said last March, when we were debating a previous round of election cancellations, that, quotes, "We have no plans to postpone district council elections in 2026. Well, likewise, the Noble Lady, the Minister, also said, quotes, that it was a postponement for 12 months only. We are, of course, now in a rather different situation. And that's been a U-turn not justified by precedents. It's certainly not a U-turn that's justified by the need to fight the scourge of potholes. And it is a U-turn, as the Noble Lady Baroness Scott referred to earlier, that directly flies in the face of the Electoral Commission's very specific advice. The Commission said, "We do not think that capacity constraints are a legitimate reason for delaying long-planned elections." But it also strikes me as being an unwisely short-term perspective to cultivate a culture in which elections are so often cancelled, in which terms of office that are meant to be 4 years get extended up to 7. Because is that really a wise legacy to leave for a future government of who knows what political complexion? But as the government seems set on this course, let me ask 3 specific questions of the Noble Lady, the Minister. Firstly, will the government reimburse councils for the cost of preparing for elections that are now being cancelled? Secondly, given how much the government has talked up the benefits of its plans to introduce elected mayors, which are part of the wider picture of election delays, will the government publish estimates of the cost to economic growth of those delays in bringing in the elected mayors? And thirdly, given the importance of protecting our democracy, even in the face of potholes, will the government commit to giving the Electoral Commission proper independence and removing the government's power to give the Electoral Commission instructions over policy and strategy? Because that would show a real commitment to protecting and valuing democracy.